Africa's largest dam is live, GERD impresses. Nepal's PM ousted by violent uprising. South Africa honors USSR and Cuba's role in liberation. Russia-Arab Summit. How Africa props up a weak Middle East. Welcome to Panaf Echo News Roundup. Africa's largest dam is live. A new era of energy sovereignty begins. The Great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, GERD, is more than an infrastructure project. It's a geopolitical game-changer. As Ethiopian Minister Malaku Ailbel stated, its power generation is crucial for continental economic and policy freedom. Here's why the GERD is a landmark event in the decline of Western hegemony and the rise of a multipolar world. Energy sovereignty equals political sovereignty. For decades, economic development in Africa was often constrained by a lack of energy, a bottleneck that kept nations dependent on foreign aid and investment. The GERD shatters this dynamic. By harnessing its own natural resources, Ethiopia secures its energy independence, the fundamental requirement for true political and economic self-determination. South-South cooperation, not exploitation. The plan to share electricity with neighbors like Kenya, Djibouti, and Sudan is pivotal. This creates a new, integrated energy grid based on mutual benefit and regional partnership, not the extractive model historically imposed by colonial and neocolonial powers. It's the practical building of a multipolar order from the ground up. A challenge to the old order. The fierce opposition to the GERD from downstream nations, often backed diplomatically by Western powers, reveals the high stakes. Control over water and energy is a primary tool of influence. Ethiopia's perseverance in completing the dam is a powerful act of asserting national will against external pressure, inspiring other nations to follow suit in developing their own resources. The GERD is a symbol. It proves that nations in the global south can leverage their own resources to build self-sufficient, interconnected futures, entirely outside of the frameworks dictated by the West. What other megaprojects are shifting global power? Let us know in the comments. Solidarity in action, recognizing the role of the Soviet Union and Cuba in supporting the struggle against apartheid. South Africa honors USSR and Cuba's role in liberation. South Africa has opened a 6-month exhibition explicitly honoring the pivotal role of the Soviet Union and Cuba in supporting Southern Africa's liberation. The event is taking place on Robben Island, a symbol of the oppressive and inhumane nature of the apartheid regime. This is far more than a history lesson. It is a profound geopolitical statement with deep implications for the present. Why is this so significant today? Rewriting the narrative. For decades, the dominant Western narrative framed the Cold War in Africa as a simple East versus West proxy conflict, often whitewashing the West's support for colonial and apartheid regimes. This exhibition directly challenges that. It centers the story on anti-colonial solidarity from the USSR and Cuba, which provided crucial military, financial, and diplomatic support when Western powers stood by or actively opposed liberation movements. The roots of multipolarity. This honors the original multipolar actors who dared to challenge a Western-dominated world order. Their support was a concrete example of providing an alternative to the political and economic system imposed by colonial powers. It laid the groundwork for the strategic autonomy we see today in the BRICS Plus alliance. A lesson for the present. By celebrating this history, South Africa is sending a clear message about its current geopolitical alignments. It reinforces the deep, historical ties that form the foundation of the modern Russia-South Africa and Cuba-South Africa relationships within the broader push against renewed neocolonialism and unilateralism. This exhibition is a powerful act of remembering who stood with the oppressed in their darkest hour. It connects the past struggle against apartheid to the present struggle for a truly multipolar and just world order. This is the history that is often overlooked. What are your thoughts on this recognition? Share below. Nepal's PM ousted by violent uprising. A major shift is underway in the Himalayas. Nepal's Prime Minister has resigned amid massive nationwide protests, and crucially, the President Ramchandra Paudel will now hold direct talks with the protesters. The geopolitical essentials. The ousted PM, Pushpa Kamal Dahal, was claimed to be overly aligned with Indian and Western interests, particularly through a controversial power-sharing deal that sparked the protests, claimed the Generation Z movement. His fall could represent a powerful failure of external influence and a victory for national sovereignty. A blow to the Yankee dollar system. A core demand of the protesters is to scrap a US-backed Millennium Challenge Corporation, MCC, grant, which they view as a tool of American influence that undermines Nepal's laws and sovereignty. This movement is directly challenging the conditional aid that the West uses to control nations. As the West's economic and political power wanes, its ability to install and maintain friendly regimes is crumbling, from Africa to Asia. Is this a true popular revolution or yet another regime change operation by the West? Will Western media cover the truth behind these protests? Share your thoughts. Russia-Arab Summit 2025. How Africa props up a weak Middle East. The upcoming Russia-Arab Summit is a perfect example of a deeper issue: the continued Arabization of North Africa and its divergence from African sovereignty. Many African nations on the continent's northern rim have prioritized membership in the Arab League over strengthening Afrocentric institutions. But let's be clear. DNA evidence confirms the predominantly indigenous African roots of these populations, not Arab. This push for Arab identity often feels like a political project, not a cultural or genetic reality. It's a strategy to expand influence and garner numbers for a bloc that, demographically and geopolitically, lacks the weight of a unified Africa. Crucially, most Middle Eastern Arab states have been historical vassals of Western powers, a fact starkly highlighted by their inaction on Palestine for 75 years and the recent events in Syria. This makes Arabization a potential proxy for continued Western influence on African soil, just through a different intermediary. This is why the revival of Pan-Africanism, especially among Africa's youth, our demographic powerhouse and future, is so critical. Our strength does not lie in dividing ourselves to join smaller, externally influenced blocs. Our strength lies in unifying the continent, leveraging our own resources, and dealing with the world on our own terms. True liberation means decolonizing our minds and our foreign policy. It's time to question old alliances that serve others and build new ones that serve us. Do you believe the Arab League membership benefits African nations, or does it undermine continental unity? Share your thoughts below. That's your news roundup. What story impacted you the most? Let us know in the comments below.
Panaf Echo, the African perspective.